Hello guys and welcome to the channel. This is Baby Roll. In today's video we are talking about the new bits for Ranger, Kansa, End of Dragons. We got 4 bits, one for each map. White Tiger, the one I found a new location for here in the first map, and Phoenix and Kining, the wallo in Ecovalt Forest, and that floating turtle that you see here is the last one, the baby sea turtle in Dragon's End map. Now I want to make a full review about them, the bugs I found, the good things, the bad, which one I think are usable or not, what do I think of them in general, and few tips and tricks on how to use them to your maximum gain in fight and stuff like that. Now I want to start with the bugs. Let's start with the siege turtle for a start, because it have a lot of the weird thing. If you merge with the siege turtle in SoulBeast, the first skill you get is actually a blast finisher, but you never get the finisher. I keep doing it in field and I never get anything out of it. I see here, whether I'm in combat or outside of combat, nothing work. Now the second thing with the siege turtle, and only happens with the siege turtle, it can actually get stuck. It doesn't attack, whether you auto attack or order it or command it to actually attack or anything, whether you're outside of combat or inside combat. And the only thing that will get it to react if you use the skill you control, the bubble that it can do. As you see here, the same happen. And get stuck completely, that it will not even follow you until you break the radius for combat for ranger, which is 1500 range. It will start following you, but it will not attack. This can happen randomly, mostly if the terrain allows it. I'm not really sure, like if the enemy is in a higher level or something like that, it will not work. And as you see here, the siege turtle will start following me since I'm very far it break out of the stuck state. And right now it's not stuck because she was able to move to the target. She wasn't on a ledge or something like that, but I don't know the circumstances that actually allow this to happen. Now also something really a bit weird with the wallo, that the wallo have one of his skills is basically a poison field. It's the first skill it will do once it start combat, but as you see it works very wrong. It doesn't put the enemy in the center or even close, it put it right to the edge, sometimes really close to the edge, to the point that if it simply walked it will be out. Now another thing about this field, as you see here, the field is actually deployed, so it doesn't move with the siege turtle, and if you actually remove the siege turtle it will disappear immediately. So it's a ground thing, the bit can move out of it, and also if the bit is removed it will get moved, and that's something doesn't shared by all the bits. Morello for example would leave it field completely normal, but Jacaranda would stop its casting for damage. So it's a different bit thing. And as you saw in this footage, all the new bits have this weird bug. Once you turn to them, they will not attack, they will not do anything. You cannot even force them to attack or through a command or a skill for 4 seconds. And every other bit in the game doesn't have this. Obviously it's a bug with them. They will never attack, they will never do anything until 4 seconds that actually removed, and then they will have like an attack command. So even if you were spamming a skill like the one you can control, they will not even cast it and they will go to auto attack first, unless the skill is exactly more than 4 seconds after you turned from a bit to another. As you see here, the turtle doesn't do anything, the time pass, and then it starts attack. It's consistent with all the new bits. It's a weird bug, I hope they get it fixed soon, because it made some of the bits completely unusable in some situation. If using wallo for example in competitive mode, you want the CC to be accessible immediately. The same thing happened with projectile field from the turtle, and if you can't have that immediately, 4 seconds can mean a lot in a fight. The siege turtle is the only one I found it some time to break out of this problem by casting immediately once you turn to it, but all the other it was never possible to break the 4 second time. And as you see here, even outside of combat, I keep pressing the skill and nothing happened until the time actually passed. And if we compare even different bits like the old ones, another tiger for example, I press the phoenix once I turn to it and nothing happened. The moment you summon the bit, this happened. If the bit was already out, this bug will not happen. But the moment I turn to a normal bit, it will immediately cast no problem. Now the siege turtle have opened a lot of potential for ranger play. SoulBeast for example, without even probably any boon duration can have permanent protection simply by keep juggling boons and copying them, even without the trait of taking boons from your bit and without the trace of bit actually taking boons, just but by merging and gaining protection with Unstoppable Union, Monstance, and copying the boon itself. After the field is gone, you can have permanent protection if it done extremely correctly. And however, you can increase this duration a lot by actually or make it more forgiving by actually playing something like Celestial or any boon duration accessibility like some of the new gear type ritualist, for example. And it was something not just difficult, it could feel a bit impossible before the Siege Turtle, and now it's possible because of it. So you can have a really tanky ranger through using it, basically extremely tanky SoulBeast. And as you see here, I was using the merging one, and now I will use Unstoppable Union. I will do the same and get the field, and then merge with the bit itself, copy boons, and then unmerge. And as you see, I have 20 seconds right now when I show you the protection, and my skills is almost up. I will have even my healing skill up again, and I can merge and unmerge to even increase this duration through juggling more protection. And in a normal combat or normal situation, you can actually, since I'm playing condition, you can have protection through dodging, which mean even you will add more protection and keep resetting it. So having access to permanent protection is something possible right now if you want to have it. Now let's talk about those bits from tips, tricks, everything about them. Let's talk about the good and the bad. Now there's two bits I don't see myself using, but they are not that bad actually, at least one of them, and they are the Phoenix and the White Tiger. So let's start with the Phoenix. The Phoenix is basically a Wyvern, but it's a bit unique. It have lower health, for example. I see it's 21k, and if you go to a Wyvern, it's actually 34k. It have insanely high critical chance. It's a weird combination. It's basically like this Tiger, for example. And it also have a really high power damage, basically like Jacaranda or another Wyvern. So it's lower in health than other Wyverns, but it's higher in critical chance. It's really high in damage like Jacaranda, but again high in other stats and lower in health, so she's a bit of a weird combination. It have higher damage or power damage than tigers, so I guess it's a bit unique on its own. I don't think I found another bit to have the same stat combination as the Phoenix. And the Phoenix can do some really high damage in a way, but I'm not sure if it's intended or it's simply a bug. So let me explain. I was able to get its skill, basically Wing Buffet, which show only one hit. It's always actually hit 2. So let me show you an example on this thing. Let's go with a build that actually support bits, like really making it strong right now, the highest stat possible, and let it actually go like fall damage on this, about 10k, and I didn't even have enough time to hit Maul, or maybe I did, I'm not sure. So right now it have it, and on Secum, and as you see, look at this damage. It's insane damage. But as you see, if we see in this chart here, as you see, dash is almost 10k, and I was able to break 10k before, even higher than this, almost 11k and stuff like that. And Wing Buffet actually hit twice, even so the skill itself so once, but it always hit twice. So I'm not sure if this is a bug or actually intended. It hit way more than any other Wyvern. Wyverns hit it like for maximum 4k, 5k, and they have it for 2 hits. So this one is actually looking weird. Every other Wyvern, you would see the same skill, Wing Buffet actually hit twice, but on here it hit once, it knocked back for higher distance. It worked a bit differently on here than actually on other Wyvern. I think it was supposed to be lower damage since that's how it's shown, but it do insane amount of damage. Wing Buffet can reach 10, 12 or even more, and no boons. As you see, I have nothing on me, just a build that can support bits, and it can do crazy damage. Now, I don't like this skill. This skill, if you support your bit, can do really good damage, but it is a long beam that barely touches the enemy. As you see here, without any support, without Maul, without Secum, without anything, it doesn't do anything. It's really weak. It can hit for once or twice or even 3 times. It's completely messy depending on the situation. So this skill, I hate it. It's feel like a waste of time in a way. I hope they fix it or at least make it a bit consistent. But other than that, I don't like this skill or how it works. So Phoenix is nice, but I don't see myself using it since it's a bit classy bit. So, and I don't play bar builds that really spike damage like Tail Swipe, Drake, Core Rangers. They would probably enjoy the Phoenix, since once you turn to it, you simply use Maul, and it either goes dash depending on the cooldown or wing buffet because they share the same cooldown, and both of them can do insane damage. Now let's go with the Tiger. The Tiger, in my opinion, is a bit worse. It is my least favorite. The skill you control is again feel a bit useless. It's 1 Aegis on a 30-second cooldown, 1 second cast time, so you don't even get it snappy fast to stop this hit that you want to avoid. Maybe in PvE when things is a bit slower, but in competitive, not that great. It doesn't offer the same damage that something like the Phoenix can offer, not the same bar damage, not the same heavy hitting hits like this one. Even so, it does have power damage and condition damage, which is at least useful. And if you play it with SoulBeast, this skill can be useful, even so it doesn't dodge, so it will not really compete with Smoke Scale, but you can teleport hitting it and you will teleport back to the same position you started from. The bit itself will actually teleport back to a closer area. As you see, it's not the same position all the time, and it have 120 radius, but the bit always misses even in a really small area, and we always hit in a really excellent area if we are merged with it. So I think the skill doesn't function properly again. But like I said, it will not compete with Smoke Scale. It doesn't offer like a great functionality, so it's not bad, like it's not completely useless, but I don't see it offering this much value in any game mode. Now let's talk about the really good ones, or at least the good ones for me. Like we said, Phoenix is great, but it is not for me. Now let's start with the Wallo and then go with the amazing Siege Turtle. Now the Wallo itself can offer a lot of value. The auto attack itself is a damage with healing, so it keeps healing himself constantly. And it can do high bar damage, high decent blade damage, but still single target focused. The skill you control is a knockback with high bar damage and high bleed. Obviously in competitive it doesn't do this much, it's a CC skill, but it offers even more potential to decap Druid, for example, in PvP, since right now they are the second bit that able to knock back as an option, but this time you can control it and it have a decent radius. It actually knock back for about 300 and end up behind the target, so it moved 450 but only knock back to 300. Let me show you here. As you see, it end up behind the target, and sometimes it can move insane distance, which is wrong. It's not so, it's supposed to end up here, but as you see, some weird things can happen with those bits. So the first skill it will always engage with is the poison field, which make it even really good in cleaving down bodies. So you simply move to it and it will attack and go both the poison field. But as you see, as you saw, the poison field itself is always leaves the enemy like pretty far. Like it barely puts the enemy inside it once it casts it. As see, it's on the rim here. Sometimes even enemy can be here, which is like if you simply walk away it will be out. This skill need to be more accurate. It doesn't land the same way every time, but once it get fixed probably it will be great. And the poison can be increased in duration 50% if you get the target inside its CC. So it's a condition source, some damage, it keep pulsing, so even cleansing it, if people stuck in it they will eat it again. Like if you're playing with Druid and you entangle people, they will eat a lot of poison, and you CC them, they will eat more poison. So it works really nice, and it is a combo field poison, which means it can apply weakness with Blast Finisher, like Staff 3 for Druid. As a skill it will apply Blast Finisher for it. So overall it's great. It having access to a control level CC skill. All the skills actually do some decent effects. It's a really tanky bit which can be used in PvE, combatives. It have role everywhere. It offers you the damage and the tanking for you and everything. And it can have also been extremely cute. Look how it's work. Look at this work. Combined with the Siege Turtle, they are probably the cutest bits in the game. Let's be honest. Now, let's talk about the best bit probably in the game right now, which is the Siege Turtle. If you go back in time, before Heart of Sauron, before the introduction of the specialization system, we had a trait system, and one of the trait, basically the sword one, was if you keep casting melee attacks in front of you, you would have a chance of a 33% to destroy projectiles. It was the only way possible to handle projectile on ranger. Yes, you can tank, reduce damage, you can dodge, but actually blocking projectile or reflecting them was only possible through a trait like that or offhand axe skill. Right now, if you're a ranger and you're running druid with a staff, then staff can do the same thing for you. But there was never any other option, and not for core ranger anyway. A lot of ranger like me always wanted it. Right now, this bit gives us this option, because it has this doom that will give you a deployable field that block projectile and even keep bolters protection to everyone around it, which mean even on melee attacks you will be able to tank it a little bit. It can be combined, as I already explained in the start of the video, with rugged growth to stack protection, to heal with it, and do a lot of wonderful things. So right now you don't have to go untamed in order to get this field. Every ranger who can access a projectile deflection field, the one the turtle can use. And not only that, the turtle is basically a bear. As you see, compared to a bear, it is the same stats, which make it extremely durable, extremely tanky. And not only that, it have some decent value and unique traits to it. So the other skills that it offer is actually as a group CC. It break defense bar really nicely for 5 target on a decent radius. It doesn't do this much damage anyway. The other skill do decent bar damage and a really high bleed damage, and it can cast from far 1200 range HE cannon. So let's look at this. It will keep casting, and it is the only bit in the game that will not approach the target, will not trigger its other skills. Not inherently a bad thing, it's just that not how any bit work in the game before. So I'm not sure if this is intended or not, but even if it is intended, that means you can control its position perfectly by positioning it in any area, and it will always stay in this area until any mob come near it. It will start with CCing and using the other skills, or you can control them on an untamed. And that means you would have an area you know where to stand when you want this field. So it's not inherently a bad thing. If it changed, fine, it will work like any other bit. If it didn't, that means I can keep it safe or put it right where I wanted at any time. So with the sea turtle, let me tell you, it is probably my go-to in a lot of builds right now. It is a really tanky bit, so if I want to tank, usually in my normal PvE build, the SoulBeast, I was using Bristleback as incredibly tanky, the highest toughness possible in a bit. So it can tank for me, and it is a stationary like it, but because every skill for it is range, so it was the only bit that will stay in the same spot. But that's only because it has no melee skills. So I can stay behind it and it tank for me for projectile, and I can use it a little bit for damage and tanking for me in general, because the toughness, the mobs will always aggro to the highest toughness. And if I merge with it, it will increase my stats for condition damage and give me all skills to do wonderful hits and damage. So it was always stuck with me on my main build. SoulBeast basically can only use one bit inside combat, so this was my choice. If I ever needed to really tank and go for healing, usually I would have used Jacaranda. Maybe even a bear if I have to in specific situation. This option of a bear was extra condition cleanse, completely nullifying power damage for a while and access to healing. But most of the time I would only use Jacaranda for higher damage, cleave from her hits, she can heal herself, and having access to 2 healing skill with extra condition removal. Right now, I don't think I will ever use Jacaranda. If I ever needed a bit to tank to me, I will always use this turtle. 10-second protection simply on my build without even the mouse stance and the method I explained in how stacking protection permanently. You can check the timestamps if you missed it. Without even that, having a projectile barrier to tank for you and having 10 seconds of protection, which mean about 2k of healing and reducing damage for both you and your bit, is great. And even merging with it to heal again and still can do some really decent damage. So you don't lose this much on damage comparing to Jacaranda, at least on this your burst of conditions that you can do. And also I used it as an update to my Druid build, because now I use the turtle and iboga. I really like iboga because I can bolt people from walls and I can cover condition with confusion and torment. I can do things that Ranger itself can do with a really decent CC. So I prefer to use it instead of Frag Gazelle because of this condition stuff right now. Even so, it's really easy to die, But the other bit I use is actually the turtle right now. Having access to this field and then you can still have another projectile reflection field is just do wonders. And with high healing power I can heal for really high numbers. Obviously this is in PvE, but in World vs World I can get it almost to the normal PvE style, like about 270 or something like that, which even helps filling 60 avatar faster. It is a protection, so it lower even the power damage, which is the highest weakness of druids. They can really easily die to power more than actual condition. And if you use it correctly, like simply entangle someone or bowling them with iboga and they say they near you right now and eating a lot of condition, you can use glyph or even heal under them for more cover condition and cleansing yourself, and you can turn to it. She will immediately, the first attack she will do is CCing them again, so you can, with timing about 10 seconds only to trigger another ancient seed, you can trigger another ancient seed. She will do its fine damage to them. You can use this field to cancel their projectile hits. They would have to be in melee, and even melee both you and your bit having protection, healing and lowering the damage itself. So it is amazing bit. Even so its auto attack is probably low and it's sluggish and slow, but I do not care. I love the utility and the option it can offer. So will it be nerfed or something like that? I hope not, and I don't think it should be nerfed. Like every ranger is probably envious of the mechanism, but you know what, I do not care because I have this cutie here that can do a lot for me. It is simply another projectile barrier. It's not really a big deal. It is stationary even, so if you move out of it, it stays in the same area. You don't get anything from it. It is already balanced in competitive modes because it's not 10 seconds. It's actually 5 seconds in competitive of protection pulses. It's 1 for 1. And comparing to other bits, it can do some serious damage like iboga, like Raggazal, Jacaranda, and it's immobilized and stuff like that. I think it is completely balanced. There is no big deal in it. A lot of classes have insane amount of reflection, and that's not even reflections, it's projectile destruction. So I don't think it should be nerfed at all. I think it should only be fixed, and there's a lot of bugs with those bits, but once they're done it will be great. But for now it is my main bit, unless I'm using my SoulBeast for PvE, which I have to go technically for damage most of the time, so I use Burster Back. If I use Untamed, if I use Druid, if I would use Core Ranger, anything, I'll probably go for it. Probably even Power Untamed as an option, I would think of it seriously. So that's it for the video. I hope you like it and find it useful. Soon there will be coming my builds for the Untamed, my PvE build for it, and we would go even to the rest of the classes. There's a lot of content to come, so subscribe so you wouldn't miss it. Don't forget to like, and I'll be seeing you next time. Peace.